The surprise guest, a puppy's journey to home. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon, and the Johnson household was buzzing with excitement. Balloons floated lazily from the ceiling, streamers were hung along the walls, and the smell of cake filled the air. The occasion? Sarah Johnson's 10th birthday party. Friends and family were scattered around the house, enjoying music, food, and laughter. Sarah's cousins, Emma and Jack, who were a year younger, had arrived earlier to help with the final touches. They always looked forward to family get-togethers, especially when it meant running around their aunt and uncle's huge house. The sprawling two-story home was perfect for games of hide-and-seek, with hidden corners and secret rooms. As the guests started to arrive, Sarah, Emma, and Jack dashed around, greeting friends and organizing party games. But amidst the laughter and celebration, they noticed something peculiar. "Did you hear that?" Emma whispered to Jack as they gathered near the snack table. Jack frowned, listening carefully. "Hear what?" "It sounded like a whimper," Emma replied, her eyes widening. Sarah overheard the conversation and joined them. "Whimper? What kind of whimper?" Emma pointed toward the hallway that led to the farthest corner of the house. "I think it's coming from over there." Curiosity got the best of them, and they tiptoed away from the party, heading toward the mysterious sound. The further they ventured, the quieter the noise from the party became. They reached the end of the hallway and paused outside the door to the corner room. The whimpering was faint, but unmistakable now. "Should we open it?" Jack asked, glancing nervously at his cousins. Sarah nodded, and slowly, they pushed the door open. To their surprise, nestled in the corner of the room under an old armchair, was a small, shivering puppy. The trio gasped. "How did it get here?" Sarah whispered, her voice filled with awe. "I don't know," Jack muttered, crouching down to get a closer look. The puppy was a golden color, its fur messy and damp, and its big brown eyes stared up at them with a mix of fear and hope. "We have to help it," Emma declared, her voice firm. "It's all alone." The children's minds raced. How could a puppy have ended up here during Sarah's birthday party? And, more importantly, what were they going to do with it? Sarah carefully reached out her hand, and after a moment's hesitation, the puppy crawled out from its hiding spot and licked her fingers. A smile broke across her face. "It's friendly," Sarah exclaimed. Jack stood up. "We can't just leave it here. We have to tell someone." "But what if it belongs to someone at the party?" Emma suggested. "Maybe it got lost." "Let's check with everyone," Sarah agreed. With the puppy cradled in Sarah's arms, the three cousins returned to the party. They went from guest to guest, asking if anyone had lost a dog, but to their dismay, no one recognized the puppy. Some of the younger kids were eager to pet the dog, but the adults seemed concerned. "Where did it come from?" Sarah's mom asked when they finally approached her. "We found it in the corner room," Emma explained. "It was hiding under the chair." Sarah's mom frowned. "That's strange. I didn't notice any doors or windows left open. How could it have gotten in?" The mystery of the puppy deepened. "Well, it doesn't seem like it belongs to anyone here," she said thoughtfully. "Maybe we should call animal control." "No!" Sarah and her cousins cried in unison. Sarah's mom looked at them in surprise. "We'll take care of it," Jack promised. "At least for a little while. Maybe it belongs to someone nearby and we can find its home." After a few moments of hesitation, Sarah's mom sighed. "All right, but only for a week. If you can't find its owner by then, we'll have to make other arrangements." The kids agreed, their hearts racing with excitement. The puppy was their responsibility now. The next day, the cousins gathered at Sarah's house, eager to start their search for the puppy's home. They had named him Max, and he had quickly grown fond of the children, following them around wherever they went. "We need a plan," Jack said, pulling out a notebook. "How do we find out where Max came from?" Emma suggested we could make flyers and post them around the neighborhood. "And we should ask the neighbors," Sarah added. "Maybe someone's seen him before." They spent the next few hours making brightly colored posters with Max's picture and contact information. Then, they split up and started knocking on doors, explaining their situation to anyone who would listen. Some people had seen stray dogs in the area before, but none of them recognized Max. Others offered to help, but no one could give them a solid lead on where the puppy had come from. As the days passed, the cousins grew more attached to Max. He was full of energy and loved to play, especially with the small rubber ball Sarah had found in the toy chest. At night, he would curl up in the corner room, where they had made him a cozy bed out of old blankets. But despite their efforts, no one came forward to claim Max, and the week was slipping away. On the 6th day, Emma had an idea. Maybe Max had a collar, but it came off, she said as they sat in the living room, petting him. If we look around the house or the yard, we might find it. Excited by the thought, the cousins rushed outside and began searching every nook and cranny of the garden and the bushes around the house. They combed through the grass, looking for anything that might give them a clue. Suddenly, Jack let out a shout. "I found something!" He held up a small, tattered collar that had been hidden under a bush. The collar was worn, but there was a faded tag attached to it. The writing was barely legible, but they could make out part of an address on the other side of town. "This is it!" Sarah cried. "We found where Max came from." The three cousins felt a mix of relief and sadness. They had grown so attached to Max over the past week, and now they were on the verge of sending him home. The next morning, with the address in hand, the cousins set off with Max in tow. The house was across town, nestled in a quiet neighborhood surrounded by trees. When they arrived, they stood nervously at the front gate. "What if they don't want him anymore?" Emma asked quietly. "We have to try," Jack replied. They walked up to the door and knocked. After a few moments, the door creaked open and an elderly woman peered out. "Can I help you?" she asked kindly. Sarah took a deep breath. "We found this puppy at our house last week. We think he might be yours." The woman's eyes widened as she looked down at Max. "Oh my goodness, Max. You found him." She knelt down, and Max immediately ran to her, his tail wagging furiously. The woman hugged him tightly, tears in her eyes. "I thought I'd lost him forever," she whispered. "He ran away a few weeks ago, and I've been looking for him ever since." The cousins exchanged glances, feeling both happy and heartbroken at the same time. They had done the right thing, but it was hard to say goodbye. The woman stood up, wiping her eyes. "Thank you so much for bringing him back. I don't know what I would have done without him." She invited them inside for tea and shared stories about Max's adventures as a puppy. She explained that he had been a gift from her late husband and that she cherished him dearly. As they sipped their tea, the cousins realized that Max had a loving home, and though they would miss him, they were glad he was back where he belonged. When they left the woman's house, the cousins walked home in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. It had been a week of adventure, responsibility, and growing attachment to their furry friend, but they knew they had done the right thing by reuniting Max with his owner. As they reached Sarah's house, her mom greeted them at the door. "How did it go?" "He's back home where he belongs," Jack said, smiling, though his voice was tinged with sadness. Sarah's mom knelt down and hugged them all. "I'm proud of you for taking care of him and finding his home." That night, as the cousins sat together, they realized that the week they had spent with Max had taught them something valuable about responsibility, kindness, and letting go when the time was right. And though they missed their little surprise guest, they knew that Max was happy, and that made it all worthwhile. As the stars twinkled outside, Sarah, Emma, and Jack shared a quiet moment together, knowing that their adventure wasn't over. It was just the beginning of many more to come.